Hey, what's up, everybody? Mogion Monster here, and welcome to Why the Fascination, or WTF, as I like to call it. Today's guest, he's a return guest. I guess this would be like the third installment of the Moog and Mike show. Um, you guys seem to like listening to his stories, and I've been looking forward to hearing this one in particular. It's his Bigfoot story. Um, Without further ado, I want to thank you for coming back, Mike.
Well, thank you again for having me, and it's a pleasure as always. And I want to thank all the guests for the support and uh, sharing with me and sharing with you. And I'm just glad to be a part of it.
No, I'm thrilled that you're back, dude. I this story, I don't know what my fascination with Bigfoot. I'm wearing a Bigfoot shirt right now. But my first show was basically a narration, and it was a Bigfoot story. Um, and this one, I'm just fascinated with it. So I love hearing these stories. So I've been looking forward to hearing, your version of this story, um, and your
Well, my
encounter.
my story was told on Bigfoot Odyssey number 83, and thank Mr. Kerry Arnold for sharing it with everyone.
Absolutely.
Because he has a lot of supporters and a lot of followers and a lot of subscribers, and I was just thrilled that he was able to put my story out there in the interwebs. But after some time going over it, I thought maybe it would be fun for me to put it in my own words, and so people could hear it from the man himself, me. And so that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I reached out to you. And um, I've been a fan and been fascinated with the Bigfoot subject since I was a little boy of about the age of 7 years old. And
Wow.
I would look at all the little books and at all the little TV shows I could watch, and it's scary. It was scary, but I love those type of subjects like vampires and werewolves and ghosts and things of the paranormal nature and the mysterious nature. And I always was fascinated with the Loch Ness monster and things of that sort. And so I never thought this would be a part of my life at all, personally. But I had this experience in 2008 in Toledo Bend National Park in Louisiana, on the western side of Louisiana. And I would love to share my story for anybody that's willing to listen.
No, I don't think you'll have a problem with getting listeners. Everybody loves your stories, man. So yeah, go ahead. Jump right into that, and I'm just gonna
All
listen.
right. Well, I'm going to read it out in the story form, just so people can understand kind of what me and my wife and dog went through. And I really don't know how to start, but I still feel guilty because Sharon wanted to go west. She wanted to go to Taos, New Mexico, the high desert. I didn't want to go to the desert. I had just spent another hot summer in San Antonio. So I headed west, and only about two exits down the road, I pulled a U-turn and turned toward east. And we just drove aimlessly there for a little while, and we just was trying to decide where we were going to go. But I knew it wasn't going to be in the desert. So while we were looking at the map, we decided on Toledo Bend National Park, Louisiana. We had both never had been there to Louisiana before, but we could tell from the map that there was plenty of woods and there was plenty of water, and it looked great. It was early September, and we figured it would be the off season for campers because Labor Day had just passed, and we figured that everybody had already packed up and left, the camping areas. So when we got to North Toledo Bend, we pulled into the camping area, and right away we could both tell we had made the right choice. This place was amazing. It had beautiful tall pines with a high canopy. It had waterfront camping, and it was clean. So we stepped into the park ranger's headquarters and were greeted by a lovely young woman who was more than ready to accommodate us. And, she asked us wanted to stay and all the typical questions. And behind her was a diagram of all the camping sites. And out of, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 or so, 50 or 60, only like 4 or 5 were occupied.
Wow.
So we looked at this thing and we said, we picked the furthest site away from everybody else, thinking that we might have some privacy for our 5-day vacation. Knowing this was the off season, I thought we would have some time to ourselves, adult time, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
And, we made camp, which took a while. And in a few hours, we felt kind of blended with everything and started getting comfortable. And it was a long drive from San Antonio because we were doing a lot of wandering driving. We didn't really know when we first started out where we were headed. But, it was a long drive from San Antonio, but there was enough time and daylight that I thought I was going to get my line wet and maybe try to pull in a couple fish.
Sure.
So I paid for 5 days. So if I didn't catch anything, it was okay. I had plenty of time to fish. So being on the dock was beautiful, man. It was just me and nature, and it had been quite some time since I had been in nature like that, and just away from all the people in the city and everything. And I had gotten a couple of bites, but all of a sudden, out in the distance, here comes a boat. And I figured it was another park ranger to ask for my fishing license, but he pulled up to the little dock and ruined my fishing, but asked if I wanted some of his catch. And he seemed to be a local, and he was really nice. So I said yes, and I took about a dozen big perch from him because I knew now that I wasn't going to get any on my own. And after thanking him, I headed back toward the camp. And it was just at this time where it was just now starting to get dusk, where it was starting to get a little dark, and the sun started going down. But with a cooler full of fish and Sharon making camp, I thought this was the perfect start to a great vacation.
Absolutely.
We had noticed fish cleaning stations as we wandered through the park, trying to find our campsite number. So that's where we were headed, to clean the fish that the man had given me. And as soon as we got out of the van, we felt like we were being watched. And we actually said that to each other. And I tried to calm her down, and I said, that it was just because it was starting to get dark and we were in a new place. But because I knew I was going to have to cook the dinner, I told my wife that she had to clean the fish. And she didn't have a problem with that because of all my experience in fishing. And she was an expert at it anyway. But the whole time, my dog Razor and I felt uneasy, like someone was watching us. We were standing around this little shack as Sharon cleaned the fish, and I had my eyes on the surroundings of this little fish cleaning shack. But being so dark now, it was hard to see anything. But I could hear movement in the near woods that really was all around us. And when she got done cleaning the fish, we headed back to camp, which was only a couple 100 feet away, maybe 200-300 feet away. And we made a great meal. I mean, we had perfect, perch fillet and potatoes with bacon and garlic and onions and corn. And I mean, it was a full-on meal. And after dinner, we ate a good dinner. And after dinner, under our bright lantern, we decided to play a game of Yahtzee. So we sat there and we're playing Yahtzee and just having a good time. And after a couple of games, man, we were so full from the meal and tired from the long drive and the sleepless night before, because we had spent the whole night before packing up the van of all our equipment and the tin and the coolers and the chairs and all the blankets and just all our supplies and everything. I had taken the back seats out of this brand new rental van and stored them in my apartment. So we had all the room back there for my dog and all our stuff, and so we were pretty much loaded down when we took off. But, after that couple games of Yahtzee, we decided to pack it up for the night and get some sleep. And it was only about 9 o'clock. but we were just exhausted, And after settling in our new big tent, we started easily drifting off to sleep. I mean, it was no problem trying to fall asleep. We were so tired. And it seemed about 30 minutes later or so, I could hear someone walking around our tent. And I shook my wife, and I noticed my dog had alert. And it was heavy footfalls, like someone had purpose in their steps. And so I leaned out the tent. I was still in my sleeping bag, but I leaned out the tent, and I peeked out of the tent and couldn't see anybody. But I could still hear someone walking, like, behind our tent and away from our tent. And being so far away from the other campsites, I thought it must be someone from another campsite wanting to greet us, and I pulled on my shorts and stepped into my boots and got out of the tent, and I stood up, but I couldn't see anyone. And there was little bushes and 5 or 6 feet tall little hedge bushes around us and stuff. And so I thought maybe they were on the other side of the bushes where I lost sight of them. I couldn't see them anymore. But, the fire was still going. So I just yelled out, "Hey!" But I got no response. I expected someone to yell back to me, "Hey," and then we would meet. But when I got back in the tent, Sharon asked who was that, and I had to say I didn't know, And every 30 minutes or so, this went on. I mean, I could just barely get to sleep when I would hear something walking again or something rustling in the bushes again. And I had a .22 rifle in the van, and protecting my family was paramount. I mean, that was it.
Sure.
But I had it locked up in a case in a locked up van, and I didn't have any ammunition in it because I really didn't know the rules of carrying a firearm into a park. So I kept everything, secure, and so I couldn't have gotten to it if I wanted to. But I just knew, I just had a feeling of security that at least I had it, and I had it near me. But I at first thought that this was some weirdo, like, walking around after nobody answered me. I figured it was some weirdo walking around, or maybe someone was walking their dog or something and didn't want to be friendly after I yelled out, "Hey," to him. But my dog couldn't get comfortable either, even after we were trying to ease him asleep. And then at about 12:30 or so, things started getting even weirder. We could hear something in the bushes thrashing, like the bushes a good little ways away. And I would get out of the tent again, and this time I yelled, "I'm armed and not afraid to shoot," although that was a lie because my .22 was locked up, and it was no way I was going to be able to get into it, get it unlocked and loaded, and where it would be a threat to anybody. But I was feeling kind of uneasy, with the activity that was around me, and I couldn't see anybody, and I couldn't hear anybody talking or anything. So I knew we were a good ways away from all the other campsites, and I mean, any human being would have run, but threatening them, and after threatening them and everything, but these noises continued, and the wind was blowing from the water. So we never got any smell or any noise, but the noise and the ruckus went on until about 2:30 a.m.
Wow.
And this was from 9:30 to 2:30. I think that's like 5 hours or something.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a long time of having all this stuff going on. And every time we'd peek out the tent and then we couldn't see anything, and we'd try to go back to sleep, and then we'd get woken up again just as soon as we almost started falling asleep. Here we go again, and I know there wasn't any people around us. And the fact that I had threatened them didn't seem to bother them at all. I know it was probably two of the creatures, but I don't know if they even were creatures. I don't know if they were alligators making this noise, if they were nesting water birds, trying to nest in a bush.
That's right.
But the noise and the sound on the ground, you could hear this like pounding on the ground, like maybe like an alligator would be scampering across the floor of the woods. But I didn't think they would ever come up that high off the banks of the water to be bothering us. And like I said, this went on from like 9:30 to 2:30 in the morning, and these sounds weren't coming from alligators or deer or bear or man. And what could be making heavy footfalls and thrashing the bushes at this time of night was what was puzzling me. But it totally sounded like a linebacker. I mean, and every time I got out of the tent, I couldn't see anybody. And, maybe it was because of the lantern light that I had and I couldn't see very well. Or maybe they were just hiding really good, and maybe it was a Bigfoot, but I never got to see what was walking around, and thrashing the bushes. And it wasn't until much later, after putting everything together, we had figured it had to be Sasquatch, man, or the Rougarou that we had later learned about, who inhabits the swamps of Louisiana. If you look at this Toledo Bend National Park, it would be considered swampland in my book, because it's full of water and it's full of swampy marshes and lakes and stuff like that. And we just felt like we were being watched. And the feeling of not being wanted was overwhelming. Like, something didn't want us there. My dog's hair was bristled for hours. And I had never seen him act like that. I had never seen his hair bristle. And Razor was a real cool dog, but he was definitely feeling something too.
You hear that a lot. Dogs
ahead.
reacting that way. You hear that a lot.
Yeah, I have since, and like I said, I've never seen him like that, man. And it was just really strange, because he wasn't barking, he wasn't growling, he was just alert, like really alert, and his hair was so bristled. And that's why, my wife and Sharon and I, we were trying to calm him down and ease him down. And we thought at first, well, maybe it's because he's in a tent and he doesn't know how to stay in a tent, because that was the first time he had ever been in a tent. And maybe he was getting like weird about being in the tent. And we kind of said that to each other too. And, we kind of brushed it off. And after just kind of talking about it for a little bit, we were just trying to get to sleep. So we didn't really care too much if he liked the tent or not. He was going to stay in the tent all night with us, regardless. But yeah, he was feeling something, man. But also when we checked in, the lady ranger, I mean, I remember the expression on her face, like she knew something we didn't. And I just had an odd feeling like she didn't want us so far away from everybody else, because all the camper sites that were occupied were really, really close to the entrance of the park. And I thought, maybe it's just because of the way the order that they booked all these places, and everybody's leaving, because the Labor Day weekend's over with, that everybody's just filing out in order, kind of in, like the first campers are the first to leave. And so they were almost like filing out in order. But she didn't want us far away, and we wanted to be as far away from everybody else as possible so we could fish in peace.
Sure, I don't blame you.
And I still wonder what she must have thought about us paying for 5 days and we were gone before the morning. I wonder how many times that had happened, if any. Or if maybe it had happened quite a bit. I don't know, But I think now that there must have been 2 individuals that were messing with us at times, because there was just way too much activity, going on at once. And like the overlapping footfalls, because at times it was totally silent. And then at other times the bushes were thrashing, and you could hear like the scraping of the ground, and we were like, that sounds like linebackers over there. But it was dark, and my little flashlight, I hadn't gotten batteries for it. I had a brand new mag light, but I didn't get the batteries yet. And we were planning on doing that, but we just, didn't even think about it until we were at camp. But they would just wait, man, until we were just about to sleep and the noise would start again. And this was what was pissing me off. And I was exhausted, man, from driving and being up so long. And it sounded like, they were only like 20, 30, maybe 40 yards away, but it was so dark and everything. I couldn't be for sure, but so I would go get back in the tent and try to settle down and calm my wife and dog down again. And soon again, I was on my way to sleep and the noise would start again.
It's like they knew you. It's like they knew you fell back to sleep. That's weird, man.
Yes, they knew like we were getting too comfortable, and and I was wondering, like, I didn't think of this till a long time later, way later after we left and everything. But I never thought about what was going on at the moment. All I was doing is just getting frightened, and uncomfortable, just not knowing what was over there. And
Sure.
it seemed like they were playing games by tormenting us, and this went on for hours and hours. And I got out of the tent like 5 or 6 times in that time, man, trying to see, if I could see anything, and I mean, I was looking up at the canopy, up at the top of the canopy, and I'm thinking maybe it's the wind blowing the tree limbs together and making this noise, but the noise didn't sound like it was coming from the sky or 80, 90 feet above us, because these pine trees were really, really tall. And this noise sounded it was coming like over there, like just over there,
Sure.
like right near us, right near our campground and stuff. But I was angry, man. I mean, I was angry and I was tired and fed up with all the disturbance. So I finally told my wife, let's go. We have to go. And she was ready to go too. And man, we packed up camp in about 3 minutes. Because, it took me 30 minutes just to put the tent up, because I had never put up this new tent before, and I had all the poles and all the other stuff to keep it all tied down and everything. So it took me about 30 minutes to set it up and about 3 minutes to break it down. And
Well, there's so many stories of people just abandoning camp, man. They're like, screw it, you can have it, we're out. You know, you took the time to pack yours up.
Yeah, we took the 3 minutes or so it took us, but we felt like we were like all stars, of camp dismemberment, of camp, of camp, whatever you want to call it, like just the breakdown of the whole camp. I mean, we had coolers, we had radios, we had chairs, we had towels, we had fishing equipment, we had sleeping equipment, we had other blankets and stuff set up on the picnic table. We had the games all set out and on the picnic table, and it was just crazy, man. Like there was no way I was going to spend the whole night there, and I was afraid, man. I was afraid. I was actually afraid, and it was one of the few times I was really afraid of being in a camp, and then what gets me is if this was kids or people, after my threats and shit to shoot, how come we kept getting tormented? Like how any normal person would have left and wasn't going to bother us anymore.
Yeah, it wouldn't have went on for 5 hours.
Right, exactly. And I was trying to come up with some type of explanation, like maybe it was deer or possum or raccoons or alligators, but that wasn't the answer, and I didn't know these woods. I'd never been to Louisiana before. I'd never been in these particular woods, but I'm not stupid, man. I've been in the woods for hundreds of hours in my life, But when you start putting it all together, the pieces fit that it was something unknown. Like I couldn't figure it out, man. And I thought, what could be bothering us for all this time? And the way they were bothering us, it just seemed like there was intent, in their action and in their actions, just by making the noise. As soon as we started falling asleep, they would start up a ruckus again and wake us up. And I just wanted to relax, man, and finally get away from the city and enjoy what would probably be my wife's last vacation, because she was terminal at the time, and
I'm sorry.
I felt like it was all my fault, like I had brought her here and I had brought her there, and like we never talked much about it after that because we just got to the point where we couldn't explain it. And like I say, I've loved the woods for many, many years, and I love to hunt and I love to fish, and I would even skip school as a little kid to do so. I would play hooky, and I just can't go back to the woods, man. I haven't been back since 2008 when this happened to me, and
Wow.
I'm curious about Bigfoot, but I'm scared about it at the same time, And this event changed my life. I've never been back to the woods. And I guess you just would have had to have been there to understand it, how the circumstances were, for us. But, I've spent hundreds of hours in the woods before that night. And on occasion, I felt uneasy being in the woods alone. But nothing like that night in Toledo Bend, man. And these creatures had intended to get us away by their actions. I just know that. They were toying with us.
It worked.
And they had purpose.
Well, they accomplished what they set out to do.
Man, they sure did, because we were gone, man, like a ricochet. I mean, it took us like 9 hours of driving to get there, and we were only there for about the same amount of time, about 8 or 9 hours before, we were gone. And I thought, wow, this is crazy, man. I drove all the way over here to get to this place, and now I'm running off like a chicken, like a little chicken, like a little kid. I was so afraid of what was over there.
Yeah, but you did the right thing. I mean,
it just didn't make too much sense to me, and I thought I better just preserve our my family. And that was my main thing. My main goal was to protect my family, and that was all I could do, So, but they had purpose, and they knew what to do to make us leave. And it took a while, for me to comprehend this over time. But I just never thought it would happen to me. I think they might have been attracted to the smell of the fish on the fire. Carrie Arnold had said that, after reading my story. And I kind of agree with them there. And I don't, maybe they were interested or curious about us playing Yahtzee, because when you're shaking dice
rattle
on
the
a
cup
Yahtzee game, yeah, you're rattling and making a bunch of noise and everything and screaming, Yahtzee and just being kind of enthusiastic about playing the game. And maybe they were just curious and watching us, But I have a feeling that as soon as we got out of the van at that little fishing shack, that they were watching us from there on, And I'm sharing my story to let people know it's okay to speak up about your experience. I once thought I was crazy running from something that I couldn't even see. And I hope more people speak up, because our stories are a big part of the whole picture of this subject. We're all of us are a little piece of the puzzle, and maybe if we all have our pieces put together at the same time, that maybe we can figure out what this big picture looks like. And my wife and dog has passed on now, and I'm just still here with the memories.
oh,
Maybe I should have gone west.
you can't do that though. You can't say that. I mean, you can't go back. You can't change it. So, it's a matter of accepting it. And I think, if I can help, I'll come down to Texas and take you into the woods, and it's funny because I'm like, I'm listening to this and I'm taking notes because in about 12 hours, I'm going up to the Mogollon Rim to meet up with Kevin from Arizona Squatch.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he invited me up Saturday or Friday. He's going up for the week. I'm just going to go up Tuesday through Thursday. Go hang out with him. Get to experience a little bit of what he's experienced. I'm looking forward to it a lot,
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm almost ready. If someone were to say that, to say, hey, come on, let's go. I think I'd be willing to give it a chance, but I know I'm still going to have some hesitation.
Sure, sure.
But if I had someone else to go with, I think I'm ready at this point because I know I'm never going to not be able to go back. I want to go back, and I hear all the stories of people. This happening to other people too, and it takes them a while. But I think the best thing to do would be to get right back into it and face my fear, about it and just face it head on and just deal with it. But I mean, I've seen UFOs, I've seen ghosts, but this thing, not knowing what was over there was the scariest part about it, not seeing it. I almost wish I would have seen it because then I would have known what I am thinking about or what I am so afraid of.
Sure.
But the not knowing of what it could have been over there just has my mind reeling, because I've seen lots of depictions of what these creatures look like, and to me, they look pretty scary. They look pretty scary. I mean, if you see one that's 8 foot tall and 800 pounds, I mean, God bless you. I mean, I couldn't even imagine something that big.
Yeah,
And I'm kind of glad I didn't get to see one, but I also, on the other side of the coin, I wish I would have seen it because that's what I would have known when I was dealing with. But
well, I think you have a good idea,
mm-hmm.
what was going on. I mean, when you heard it, did it sound bipedal?
It was definitely bipedal. If it was if it was the same thing that was walking around, the first thing that happened was there was somebody walking around real close to our campsite. And I could hear him walking. And I thought, it's somebody there to greet us, but they never said anything to us like, hello campers or howdy friends or, hello,
Yeah, something to get your attention.
There? Nobody wanted to greet us, and I thought that was so strange because where I come from, you better make yourself known in the woods, especially to a complete stranger, and that's what it kind of pissed me off that here I'm hearing someone so close to my camp and they're not acknowledging themselves, or even acknowledging us, and I'm thinking, who is this? Who has got the balls to come to my camp after, we're obviously not sitting out at the picnic table or in our chairs. We're not out there listening to music, playing or drinking beer, and so this was like our quiet time. And we thought we were well away from everybody else, that we didn't have to even deal with other people,
Sure.
And that was what was so scary. So that's when I said, I got to get out of this tent and see who's here. And I sleep in the nude, and I was in the nude in my sleeping bag. So by the time I got out of the sleeping bag, slipped on my shorts and stepped into my boots, it was probably, 30 seconds maybe. And after that, I got out of the tent, stood up, and I looked all the way around the whole place, man, and I didn't see anybody. And I thought, man, maybe they just were walking, and they went on a walk, and they weren't interested in talking to us, Maybe they were just walking along through the campsites and stuff. And I said, well, there's nothing wrong with that, but to be so close to our tent, for me to be able to hear you walking, it's almost like you're treading on my ground now, This is our side. This is our spot, and why are you here? And yeah, that's what was kind of scary about it, was not knowing who was walking around. And then after that, all the thrashing of the bushes, it sounded like if you took your hand out and just started like waving your hands through like some bushes. I mean, it's like they were real leafy type bushes too. So you almost got the smacking sound of
they were
like
noisy.
hitting like fresh leaves, It was like we could hear the smacking of this like ruckus, man. And I had never heard of that. And I thought, man, there's probably water birds over there trying to like nest or maybe go to sleep into these bushes. Maybe they were like big water cranes or like the blue herons or stuff like that. And I thought maybe that's where they got a little nest. And then I thought, well, maybe it's an alligator caught up in some fishing line or a fishing net, and he's trying to do the roll and trying to get this net off of him. But I wasn't going over there if it was an alligator, you know.
So obviously you came up with a lot of scenarios.
I was thinking of what could it be.
Sure.
I thought if maybe it could be a deer poking his head in these bushes. Did these bushes have little berries? And was these deer, you know, getting their head into these bushes and eating the little berries off the little bushes and stuff? I didn't know. I hadn't been there that long to really explore the area. You know, as soon as we got there, we made the camp. And then after we pretty much made the camp up, I told her I'm going down to the dock. You know, I'm going down here to this little beautiful dock. And I sent you a picture of that, where it's my dog.
Yeah.
And
As a matter of fact,
standing on that dock. That was the dock I was fishing off of.
I'll try to. I'll pull that up and maybe I'll show it to you guys.
Yeah, if you can share it, if you still have it, if you'd like to share it, you know, you're welcome too.
Right on.
But you know, it was just like, how is this happening to me? Like, why is this going on? I wanted a vacation. You know, like I said, I didn't know where we were going to go. I knew we weren't going west toward the desert, man. I wasn't going back into the heat, into the sun. I wanted to find some shade. I wanted to find some water. You know, I wanted to maybe find a little waterside camping site. And that's what I found at this place. And that's why I was so happy. I mean, we were thrilled, man. When we pulled up into this place, it's a beautiful spot. I mean, it is so beautiful, man. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. But with all this stuff going on around me, I mean, I couldn't just never get comfortable, you know. And like I said, I paid for 5 days to stay there.
That's a shame, man.
I've said this before, you know, like, I feel like the Sasquatch, man, they owe me a vacation, you know? And I think it was Lady of the Woods said something like, well, good luck getting reimbursed on that one, you know? But,
yeah.
But it is. It's an experience, man, that I often think about. I mean, it's almost like a daily thing I think about. And I've watched a lot of YouTube stuff, and I'm a subscriber to a lot of different channels because I want to know. Well, you know, I wish I could hear somebody give me a clue that would ring a bell with me, and I have actually. I've gotten some kind of validation actually. There's a few other stories that I've heard about the same area, about the Sabine River, the Toledo Bend, where other people were having sightings too. I think I've heard like 2 or 3 different stories in the last couple of months about the same area, you know. So to me, it's a lot of validation, and it takes a lot of that, like, worry off and that pressure off, like, was I crazy or not? And so I know now that I'm not crazy because other people are having the same type of experiences there in that same area. And as far from what I understand, it's a pretty hot spot, you know, for the Bigfoot and the Sasquatch sightings now. But
well, and for you to have that validation, you know, is key. I mean, you know, once you hear awesome. That somebody else had that experience, then you're like, well, crap, then that's what happened, you know?
Yeah, and now I know I'm not so crazy running away from something that I didn't even get to see. But I know I made the right choice, you know?
And that's
when I got up and I packed up, I knew, because I just had this feeling, this ominous feeling of, like, ugly. I don't know how to describe it. It was just a feeling of not being wanted there. And I've always wondered, you know, was I in their way? Was I blocking their path? Did they want to travel along the edge of the waterway and I was, like, in their way and they didn't expect to see me there? Or you know, was I, like, you know, was I causing them trouble? Or were they just curious about me and maybe the Yahtzee game, like I say, or maybe they wanted some of my food? Because I was putting a lot of vapors in the air, man, with the fish and the bacon and the taters and everything. And I mean, when I cook, I cook to please. You know, I don't mess around when it comes to cooking,
Yeah,
man.
I'm the same way.
All right, man. So that's my brother, my brother in cooking. I love it, man, because it's a part of my lifestyle, you know. But I thought, what in the world could be over there, you know? And after picking my brain, I just never could come up with anything. This happened in 2008. And I don't even think I had a smartphone capable of getting on the internet until about like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So there was a long period of time where I just was questioning and wondering for a long time. And when I finally got a smartphone, you know, and I wasn't too afraid to use it or learn how to use it because I'm pretty phone illiterate. I
Well,
don't know how to.
it could be intimidating.
Yeah, and I'm not a computer person, and that, you know, I'm a hands-on old roughneck redneck, you know, and that's who I am, and I just never knew I could even use a phone. But now that I have a phone, every day I'm on searching to see if I can find another answer, or just I just started loving all the shows about Bigfoot and the paranormal, you know. And again, like I said, I've had a lot of experiences with it on my own. But yeah, this night in Toledo Bend, man, it was like nothing else.
Wow. Yeah, I think it becomes an obsession. I mean, I haven't, I haven't had a Bigfoot experience, and I've said that before. But I am just, I
Just
enthralled.
fascinated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
enthralled.
It's
Yeah, yeah. I think once you start to get into it, that it's definitely hooks you. You know,
absolutely.
it hooks you, and I'm hooked. I mean, I'm definitely hooked. There's no question about it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. And like I said, I haven't been in the woods for 12 years. I mean, I don't even want to go into a little park right here. And in San Antonio, where I live, there's lots of beautiful little parks that I used to go to beforehand. But now that I know that there could be these things standing all around, and they're everywhere, man. They're in every state, from what I understand,
What
except
I
for
hear.
Hawaii, I believe. And I mean, you just don't know, and just the not knowing of what could be there, kind of just freaks me out. And
Well, I
so I
mean,
don't.
it's the fear of the unknown, man. I mean that keeps people out of the ocean. Like they don't want to swim in the
Yeah,
ocean because they don't know what's in there. You can't let
yeah,
fear rule you, man. You know, I
yeah,
I I I let fear run my life for a long time, and finally I was like, I'm done. Screw this. It's
yeah.
it's debilitating. It
Yeah,
is.
time for a different approach, like a whole new attitude, you know. And that's what I say. I think I'm ready, but I don't want to, make a plan to go out. It's to maybe go camping or even in the woods for a couple of days or whatever,
Just go
and
out fishing,
get
dude.
there and freak out again and not be able to even move or piss my pants. You know what I mean? Because
Let's hope it doesn't come to
I
that.
feel
But
like that was that scary, And yeah, man, just the not knowing is what was so, like you say, the fear of the unknown was the scary factor. That's the factor that's keeping me away from these woods. But I know it's time for me to face my fear, and maybe this summer, because we have a whole summer coming up in front of us, and
sure.
maybe I'll get the courage to get up with a couple buddies or something and maybe go, maybe not even spend the whole night in the woods, but maybe just go spend the whole day in the woods and take baby steps like that, where I get a little more comfortable, because I just have a feeling that I'm going to have my head on a swivel the whole time, and I'm not going to be able to enjoy, my time in the woods like I used to be able to. And maybe if I have some support with a buddy or two with me, maybe I'll be able to calm down a little bit and enjoy what nature has to offer. Because I'll tell you what, man, I really miss it.
Sure.
I loved being in the woods, man. It was a passion of mine, and I felt comfortable in the woods. I loved being in nature, and I love seeing how nature takes over and changes the forest and the woods, and what it has to offer. The wildlife and the scenery and just the natural beauty of it all. And I don't get to see that anymore. I tell everybody now I camp out in the parking lot, man. I pull out a couple of beach chairs and put the barbecue on, and set up with the little radio and just kick back and barbecue. And that's my ideal of camping these days.
Well, you don't have to jump
hardwood.
into it right away by going camping, but like I said, if you go fishing, find a lake that's near the woods, or just put you in vicinity of the woods, and just
Yeah.
and it's funny because I go fishing now, and I mentioned earlier before we started recording that I fish in this area that in 2006 the BFRO has a sighting that happened there, and just being listening to everything I've listened to, and really having a good idea about these things. It's not fishing anymore. I mean, I go fishing, but it turns into
Hmm.
like squatching from the time I get into the woods to the time I get to the friggin' fishing hole.
Yes.
I'm looking at everything, tree structures, and
Yes.
I'm listening, and it's the way it should be. You have to pay attention and be aware of your surroundings. But I am now more so than ever, even without having experience. Kerry Arnold said last week how it's rare that like someone like me would start a channel and do something with it as far as and not having an experience, and be this fascinated with the subject matter. Um, but if I'm going to learn, I have questions. So in order to ask those
Hmm.
questions, I have to talk to people,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think this is a great place to ask questions and learn and let people, tell their story and do it in a judgment free atmosphere, and no one's going to laugh at them. And
And I just want to thank you again, man, for letting me be a part of it all because, like I said before, I don't know how to say it any clearer. I don't know where I'd go to talk to people because, it's almost like you got to know someone to know someone, but you were so open to accepting me and to understand what I've been through, and you've given me a place to share everything with all the people that I talk to in the chats. And I just want to say hello again to everybody, and thank you for the support once again. And again, maybe why this happens to me, I don't know, but it does. And this was a long time ago, and I mean, but um, I just want to say thanks again, man, for letting me be on your show,
oh,
and I wish you nothing but the best, man. Because I think you're going to take off because this is a judge-free zone, and you can come with anything. I mean, I've come with 3 different topics, and maybe most people don't have that many topics to share, but I have, and I've been holding all this in, all this time since these things have happened to me, and now I've been able to let them off and get them off my chest, and it just feels awesome, man. I mean, there's not a word to describe how good it feels to be able to express yourself, and someone actually listens to you and understands you, and and trusts in you, and I just love it, man. And I just again I want to thank you again, Movion.
oh, my pleasure, man. No, but I really have to thank you. I mean, you know, to be willing to put yourself out there as much as you do on my show. I mean, shit, this is your third installment, and I'm sure there's a
Yeah.
number 4 out there. I know there's some more ghost stories floating around.
Yes, I
Um,
do. I do have some
excuse me.
more to share, but I thought maybe we could put a couple of people in between us so it doesn't just turn into the Mogion and Mike show.
Yeah. Hey, I'm working
You
on it, man. I'm trying to get people to, send in their experiences or be willing to call. I'm approaching people and people have had some weird stuff and they're not ready to talk about it. I am going to reach out to Kerry Arnold. We talked the other night. I'm going to reach out to Kerry and see what he can do.
yeah,
And
I
I
think that would
really,
be.
since I'm talking about it, I got to thank Kerry. Thank you so much for having me on Bigfoot Odyssey last 2 Fridays ago. Um, I really had a good time. I'll list down in the bottom. I'll put the link for that episode of Bigfoot Odyssey. That was fun. You know, I mean, it's not a big deal to people, but for me, it's kind of fun when after doing your show, my subscription. I got 75 subs in within 24 hours, which
That's
was cool.
crazy. That's
I'm the
crazy.
little guy, new kid on the block, and you know, Carrie kind of looks out for me, and it's really awesome of him. I love his show. I
He's
love
such.
what he's doing with Shutter, and just to put the content out there and keep people occupied and keep their mind off the bullshit that's going on today. He's doing the right thing, and I started off that way, and I'm trying to get more quality content than just content. In the beginning, I threw out some videos that were just distraction videos. Um, but now I really, now that I'm getting more stories, I really think that's the route I want to take and let,
Yeah,
you
and you're
know,
starting to get into a groove of how you want your channel to go, and that's great, man. I also would like to thank Carrie and Daniela, um, just for everything that they do for the whole community, and how positive and how much time they take for us, man, because they're not doing it for them, they're doing it for us, man. And that's what people have to realize is the time it takes away from their families and their loved ones, and they're so unselfish about giving all their time up and sharing and doing these things for us. It's amazing. And I'm very thankful for it because that's what got me started. I heard his story, and after hearing his story, I thought, well, I can tell my story. I can
oh
tell my
yeah,
story too. And so that's why I want to thank Carrie and Daniela, because without them, I would have never even maybe even gotten to this point with you. And
sure.
so I'm very thankful, and I'm thankful for all the listeners and all the friends in chat and the people that support me and you and the whole community, because we all have to work together, and it's all we're all one big family, man. I mean, I talk more to some of these people in chat than I do to my own loved ones,
Tell me about
and
it.
which is crazy. People think it's crazy, but it's where I feel comfortable, and it's where I feel like I fit in and where I belong, and I just feel like these are my brothers and sisters, and there's no reason to be afraid to tell your story. So if you're listening right now, I want you to go to Mobion Monster, hook him up, man. Get into touch with him and talk to him. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to just to share your story, and you're gonna feel better about it. I know I do. I mean, I feel great, man. I feel like $1,000,000,
That
and
thrills me. It really
it's
does.
it's
I'm
really
thrilled
it's
about that.
really awesome of you, just to have this, man, because like Carrie said, you don't even really have a Bigfoot experience, but you're here for everybody else, man, and that's just really totally awesome, man. And I can't thank you enough, man. It's just I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's
Oh,
done
go ahead.
wonders for me, man. It's done wonders.
I'm so happy, dude. I'm very happy. And again, I'll thank you and all the listeners. Without you guys, I'm just talking to myself and Mike and nobody's watching. But thank you guys. And if you guys like this video, hit subscribe, like, share. Um, Big help. Leave comments. Let me know what you think. Suggestions. I'm open. I'm still learning this. I'm still going. Oh, what does this button do? You know. You know, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but it's working. So I'm gonna keep doing it, and you know, hopefully you guys will keep liking it. Um, so yeah, Mike. On that note, I want to thank you again, and we'll definitely do something soon again.
Okay.
Um, and you have yourself a wonderful evening, or now it's night.
Okay. I will do, man. And you take care of yourself too, and all the listeners as well. Y'all stay safe out there.
All right, thank you, brother. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Bye bye.
That was cool. You know, I've been waiting to hear that story. You know, hear him tell the story. I heard Carrie narrate it, and you know, that's crazy. You know, something haunts your tent for 5 hours, or you know, not haunts it, but you know what I mean. You heard the story. Um, that just, you know, that is crazy. And I said earlier, I'm going tomorrow, and I'm going to be camping, but I'm going to be camping on the lake. There will be fishing involved, and it just makes me wonder. You know, he just went through the thing where they were attracted to the fish, and this is a known area supposedly, you know, for encounters, and you know, Kevin from Arizona Squatch has had encounters up there, and you know, he check out his latest video. One of his latest, I think, came out on the 8th. I mean, they found supposedly a supposed, let's put it that way, 21 and a half inch track. That's huge. You know, and I'm not doubting it. I wasn't there, but I will be there tomorrow. So, it's crazy. You know, I'm kind of jazzed, not really nervous. I'm looking forward to it. Um, should be an experience, you know, and I think I'm open for it. I think I'm ready for it. Um, we'll find out, but I will get in touch with you guys next, maybe Friday. I'm gonna try to get some interviews going with Kevin and his buddies, and you know, have something for you guys for next week, and I'll do some filming and put my editing skills to the test, because right now they suck, but it is what it is. I'm having fun doing this. So yeah, guys, if you guys want to, you know, you have an experience and you want to share it with me, you want to come on the show and tell your story, hit me up, email me, give me contact information at monstermogion@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, Mogion Monsters. Get in touch. You know, I really want to hear your stories, and you know, I just I'm just baffled at how fascinating this is. You know, how, you know, my nephew calls me obsessed, but so what? I'm not hurting anybody. I'm having fun doing it, and I'm giving people an outlet and some entertainment, and that's what's important. You know, if I'm helping somebody, done deal. You know, I don't care what somebody else thinks. If that's what's happening, then awesome. So anyway, enough of my babble. um, I will talk to you guys soon. Have an amazing day, night, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this. Peace and God bless.